Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of FTB Infinity Skyblock with Arturio Emerys. So our previous episode was fairly short. I didn't realize that at the time, but I finally finished making harvesters and I made 2 of them. And so off camera I've gone and I've made 2 more so that this setup can now function. And just as a reminder, we've got mushrooms here, spinach there, soybeans, and wheat. And these are the 4 ingredients along with salt that you need to make beef Wellington, which is one of the best power systems or power sources for culinary generators. So off camera, I went and made 2 more harvesters so that I had 4, and they're here. You will also need an iron upgrade, which are very easy to make. Where iron, silver, there we go, iron upgrade. So you'll need some of that raw plastic, which is some rubber bars that have been smelted into raw plastic. Very easy, shouldn't be a problem at this point. Each one will need 1 of these depending on how big your plot of land is. Mine are 9 by 9, so that means without an upgrade it'll do a 3 by 3 area here, and then so if you want to increase it by 9 by 9, this is 1 increase, 2 increase, 3 increase. So that's why you need an iron one, because an iron is a 3 radius increase. Okay, so the way I've configured these is I've got hardened flux duct, and I have barrels with B-space barrel upgrades in them so that they're linked to the energy generator down below, the culinary generator, and then I just have a transfer node on them. So the transfer node is pulling the wheat out of here, dumping it into this barrel, and the contents are getting sent down to where it's processed into beef Wellington. Now, these will also produce sludge, and once this tank here completely fills with sludge, they'll stop working. So what I've done is the output of the harvester on the back is for what it's harvesting. The top is sludge output. So I've put an Ender IO tank on top with a fluid transfer node into a fluid trash can. Now I could take that sludge and I could feed it into a sludge boiler and it would produce various things. Let me see if we can find it in NEI. Usually it's a whole bunch of soils and ores and stuff like that. Sludge boiler, let's see uses for it. Will it show us? No, doesn't look like it. Okay, but this is a sludge boiler here. They're not particularly difficult to make. I could make them. I just didn't get around to it. I wanted to get the power system up and running, and this was the fastest, easiest way to do that. So here's how you make the fluid trash can. Ridiculously easy. A bucket and a trash can. Trash can is some smooth stone, some cobblestone in a chest. Very, very simple. So it's a good way of dealing with the waste products of here. I probably eventually will set up a sludge boiler. One problem with the sludge boiler is if you're in proximity to it, it gives you a sickness effect. So you kind of want to stick it someplace where it's not going to be in the way of stuff. So this is all fairly well set up. Should be fairly automatic. And I have a duplicate of that on each one of these. The hardened flux duct. You need hardened glass, which you will need an induction smelter for. So it's basically just lead and some form of dust from obsidian. Either there's a whole bunch of different kinds of it. That gives you the hardened glass. Where was it? Hardened flux duct. There we go. Some refined iron plate, some redstone, and some redstone chipsets. and that'll make 6 of them. So it's not even that expensive to make it. The redstone chipsets are just redstone in an assembly table. Pretty easy. And then going downstairs, what I've done is I reworked the generation system again. So now the B-space barrels up top where the items are harvested are connected to this production system down here. So when wheat is harvested, it'll show up here and it automatically gets sucked through the system to produce flour. And we're building a small backlog of flour here. And then over here, it's getting pulled through this auto crafter and producing dough. So we now have a full barrel of dough there. And that's good because that prevents us from accidentally producing spinach or mushroom seeds here, okay? Now, one of the problems that I had was the system for producing the firm tofu wasn't fast enough. So I basically have multiplied it by 4. The B-space barrel where the soybeans show up is up there. It has a transfer node that's pulling from it, and it's feeding these 4 pressers, which produce the first stage of products. Unfortunately, pressers don't require power. That's very nice. And then each one has a transfer node which pulls the soft tofu, which is the product of squeezing soybeans. You get soft tofu. That gets pulled by these transfer nodes into the secondary presser, and the secondary presser squeezes the soft tofu and produces the firm tofu and the soy milk. Now the soy milk is getting dumped in this barrel. This barrel has a void barrel upgrade just because I don't really have a use for the soybean or for the soy milk. And if I do find a use for it at some point, I've got 64 barrels of it. That's sufficient. If I wanted to, I could add upgrades and stuff like that to that. So over here's the culinary generator. And what I've done is I've added upgrades to this, and I've added a B-space barrel upgrade to it, which links it to the one over at this culinary generator over here. So this is what's producing power for all the harvesters. Just that one secondary, it's a tier 2 culinary generator. So that works pretty well. And I'm now producing a stockpile of beef Wellington. And I don't know how many more generators I could feed on this. I've got 2 of these second tier culinary generators, and they seem to be keeping up with the power now. Like, I'm not sure how much these 4 harvesters actually pull. It's, you know, hard to really tell with a harvester. But these ones actually pull a fair amount, like all of the macerators and all this other equipment, the pulverizers and stuff. So I'm pretty pleased with this. I think this is a nice upgrade. What I've effectively done here is I have effectively created a no-touch power system, which is always my goal. I always want to get to the point where I don't have to mess with power. Now, the problem with this is not going to easily scale. So I don't really think I can run a whole lot off of this. I mean, I'm producing surplus power. I don't really know how much surplus power I'm running. This one culinary generator, it appears to produce 484 RF a tick, and then it's got a buffer of 800,000 RF. Okay, that 484 a tick runs all of this stuff. Okay, but I don't know how much surplus I have. I may have none, or I may be using just, you know, a fraction of its capability. I'm not sure how to go look up what a macerator uses. Pulverizers, I think they tell you. Well, maybe not. Yeah, 40 RF a tick. So these 6 are using 40 times 6 is 240. These are basically drawing half of the power of this one culinary generator. And I would assume that these macerators are using a similar amount. So maybe this one culinary generator is just producing enough power to properly run these 12 pieces of equipment here. So And then over here, so this one's also producing 484 RF a tick. And it seems to be handling the load for these 4 harvesters just fine, but I don't know how many more they could run. And also, I don't really want to move all of this so that they would be closer over here, so I got to figure out how I'm going to handle that. At some point, I do need harvesters for at least some of this stuff, like gold and the diamonds and emeralds and things like that. I don't have a whole lot of gold. The system that I have running doesn't produce a tremendous amount of gold. It produces some, 285 blocks, which is decent. But like the redstone, there have been times where I've had like 3 times as much redstone as this. I just use a lot of it. It's pretty easy to go harvest a bunch of it. Just like every 10 minutes or so, I'll go harvest a whole lot of it and put it in here. But I just haven't been harvesting lately because I've been trying to build stuff. And this is, I got to do something about this. I'm gonna have to set up a harvester for the charcoal. And I don't know, I won't be able to do it easily like I've been doing it. Let me grab a little bit of steel here. All right, and let me just repair my axe. And I'll just show you how easy I've been getting charcoal. The only downside to this is it's a manual process. It's a little bit tedious, but it produces a tremendous amount of coal. But without that great big buffer, that huge barrel that's been pretty heavily upgraded, it goes through a lot of charcoal. And since you can't make charcoal blocks, it's real easy to run out if you don't keep close watch on it. Now, fortunately, I have not run out yet, but the day is probably coming where I will. All right. So that one 4x9 plot there gave me, was that exactly 9? Exactly 9? Really? That's kind of weird. Oh no, I'm sorry. Like 8.5 charcoal stacks. And so this one should give about the same amount. And that one, every last tree had grown out. So that's kind of cool. I can probably get one more in there. All right. I don't know if I can get all of this to fit, but I can get some of it to fit. And I'm just breaking the ones that are left so that when I come back and replant, it's just a little easier to do. So that was 3 of those plots, and it was 36 times 3, so a little bit more than 1.5 stacks of saplings. And I got about 2.25 stacks of saplings back, so I made a little profit from that standpoint. So now I can go over here and I can dump this charcoal in this chest here. And in just the time that we were over there, which was, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes or something, it used almost 2 stacks of charcoal. So you can see how quickly you can run out if you're not paying attention. And then I'll have to go replant this. And the nice thing about this is that I've got enough trees here that I don't have to do this constantly. Like I can do it about once an hour or so, and that seems to be good enough. There we go. Okay, so this does take a little bit of time. Bear with me here. Minecraft is a game that seems to appeal to people who have a high tolerance for doing repetitive things. And part of the fun of it is figuring out, okay, how much of this can I automate? And it sure is a lot easier to do that in some of these mod packs. But, you know, I seem to have a very, very high tolerance for doing stuff like this. You know, a lot of people wouldn't be able to kind of play this game over and over and over again and just kind of just keep doing these same things over and over again. But it works for me. Okay, so that's where we are. We now have at least, oh yeah, these tanks are nearly full, so it's not going to really take any more. I need to go either expand the tanks, and I need to put a shower in downstairs, and, you know, put an auto crafter on it and all that kind of stuff, so I can make use of all of that EXP. But anyway, where was I? Yeah, I was kind of wrapping everything up. All right, so we finally have harvester technologies. We finally have part of our power system, at least, is no-touch self-sufficient, and it will be my goal to get the other power into that same configuration, and it'll probably involve a harvester and a tree farm, which will mean I'll need a planter and a harvester. The nice thing about these agricraft farms is you don't have to have a planter to replant stuff. You know, it just harvests the plant when they reach full maturity, and it ignores them otherwise. So that makes it a really, really nice combination to do a simple automated farm like that. But I hope you have enjoyed this episode. If you have, it would be really great if you could leave a like on it. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, it would be even better if you could subscribe to my channel. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them on YouTube, and I will get to them when I can. Thank you for watching. This is Arturio Emerys signing out.